Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy DLloyd, and welcome back to another episode of the DLloyd NBA podcast. Not a ton of news to go over today, but we do have a little bit to talk about, a lot of it regarding the Houston Rockets. We're also going to be talking about Marcus Smart and the team possibly interested in making him an offer. Kyle O'Quinn, and he elaborates a little bit more on why he decided to leave the New York Knicks. And we also have a little bit about Joakim Noah as well. But the first thing we're going to be talking about is the Houston Rockets. They took a pretty big blow yesterday as Luc Mbah A Moute, he decided to sign a one-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, he is a small forward. You already know they lost Trevor Ariza. This is definitely going to be a little bit of a blow to the Houston Rockets. And they're also talking about Clint Capela right now. Now, Clint Capela, what we are hearing is he is looking for over $100 million on a 4-year deal to remain with the Houston Rockets. However, the Houston Rockets, they only offered $60 million over 4 seasons. So a $40 million difference, and that is miles apart, not even remotely close to the deal that Clint Capela is searching for. Now, if you ask me, is Clint Capela worth over $100 million? Individually, no. I don't think he is a $100 million player. Does he become a $100 million player when he's with the Houston Rockets? Absolutely, because he is a major part of that team. He plays defense. He does the dirty work for him. He's going to shoot 62% from the field. Just getting that production from anybody is absolutely huge. So should the Houston Rockets pay the man what he's demanding? Absolutely, but they are going to play the game. And the game is Clint Capela, a restricted free agent. The Rockets ultimately have the final decision as to whether or not they bring him back. So they can allow him to go out there and get that $100 million. So you think you're worth $100 million, you go out there, you get $100 million, and then we'll decide to match that offer sheet. So what they're doing right now, offering 4 years, $60 million, definitely playing hardball. Could Clint Capela get a $100 million contract from another team? It's going to be tough, especially at this point in free agency. A lot of the teams that had the money, that were going to spend the money, are going to spend the money already. Of course, you have certain teams that could do it, like the Sacramento Kings, but they're not going to go after a player like Clint Capela. The other team you had earlier that could have done it would have been the Phoenix Suns, but of course, they drafted DeAndre Ayton. That kind of took him out of the Clint Capela sweepstakes. So for the Rockets, it makes business decision. Now, is it a great move for just the motivation of Clint Capela, him feeling wanted by the organization? I don't think so. I do think it will ruin that relationship to a certain extent. I think he'll be okay in the long run. I think the Houston Rockets should be okay with Clint Capela eventually deciding to sign back. But they are risking that if a team offers close to that $100 million point, he could potentially sign the offer sheet. Houston Rockets will then be forced to pay that. I think they will pay that. I think they're fine going into the luxury tax. You heard them talk about before that just about every single team that wants to compete for a championship, they have to go into the luxury unless they just get extremely lucky. But the Houston Rockets, miles apart as of right now for signing Clint Capela. I think this is going to take a while. I don't think Clint Capela will sign maybe even throughout the month of July. I think it might go into August. It could linger on for a few weeks. I don't think it'll be any deal right now because $40 million difference, that is a pretty big gap. Unless, of course, Clint Capela just realizes he's not going to get this money anywhere else, and then he decides to go ahead and take that check. Or, maybe a team can go out there and offer him $100 million. But this is all going to come back down to the Houston Rockets. And when you think about the Houston Rockets throughout the whole summer, something that comes to my mind is the Houston Rockets may be the biggest loser so far during free agency. Of course, took the Golden State Warriors 7 games, literally a half away from going to the NBA Finals. And a lot of us could agree if the Houston Rockets made it to the finals, they will more than likely be NBA champs right now. But of course, Chris Paul wasn't there. They ended up missing 27 straight threes, which, could hamper just about any team's chances of trying to win. And now you come back, you're thinking maybe they bring back the same nucleus. They're not going to add a ton of players, but if they come back, they bring in the same nucleus. Maybe they could get something done. But instead, you end up losing Trevor Ariza and you lose Luc Mbah A Moute. Now, A Moute, like I say, not a crazy loss, but he does add that depth to that Houston Rockets team. Somebody who came off the bench, gave you valuable minutes. Not a crazy score, but of course he's going to play defense like a miniature Trevor Ariza a little bit. Trevor Ariza. This guy's going to play defense. Not the greatest three-point shooter, but he is a 3-and-D type of player. He has that grit, and you're not going to see Trevor Ariza out there really slacking off throughout the season. He's going to give you his best just about every single game. And Trevor Ariza is no longer there. He's in Phoenix, a 1-year, $15 million deal with the Phoenix Suns. And you really don't have any small forwards. Yes, you have P.J. Tucker, but do you really want P.J. Tucker playing extended minutes? He's okay in doses, coming off the bench, playing here or there in certain matchups, but you don't want him playing 30-plus minutes a game. That is not the answer. So the Houston Rockets, I think, took a step back where most teams took a step forward. Of course, the Lakers took a step forward. I think of even the OKC Thunder. They could take another step forward just simply because they have another year under the belt and they're bringing back most of the nucleus. And you look at the Golden State Warriors, if DeMarcus Cousins is anywhere close to the DeMarcus Cousins that we know, they take a pretty big step forward because I think that's a huge upgrade over Zaza. So all the teams they are competing with are going to take a step forward, of course, except the San Antonio Spurs. We'll see what happens with them. But the Houston Rockets did not take that step forward at all. And that's why I say they could be the biggest losers, not because they had the worst free agents out of every single team, but they regressed when they had the most to lose out of every single team. Like I said, only a half away from making the NBA Finals. You lose two pieces, could potentially lose a Clint Capela. And if all of that happens, you definitely took a step back, and I don't think you're no longer the favorites. I don't think they're the favorites now anyway, but you're definitely, going to take some steps back when it comes to competing with teams like the Golden State Warriors, who even got better as long as, of course, DeMarcus Cousins is any resemblance of the DeMarcus Cousins that we currently know. So I do think the Houston Rockets could be one of the biggest free agent losers. You guys let me know how you guys feel about that. But in the desperation move, it looks like they are now determined to land Carmelo Anthony. I said in yesterday's episode that they are the favorites to get Carmelo Anthony. I still think that is the case, but now it looks like they are determined, according to reports, that is how bad they're trying to get Carmelo Anthony at this point. And it does make sense. You don't have a small forward besides P.J. Tucker. Who else are you going to go out there and get at this point? Seriously. So I do think, Carmelo Anthony, although I don't think he is the best fit in the world. Some people may disagree. Carmelo Anthony is not that guy who's going to get up and down the court. He's not that guy who's going to, promote ball movement at all. He can shoot threes, but his three-point percentage wasn't that great last season, especially in the playoffs. It wasn't great. It was pretty awful in the playoffs. So you bring in Carmelo Anthony. Is he going to be happy in that role? Is he going to be a locker room cancer? You don't know how exactly that thing is going to play out. We do know he is friends with Chris Paul, but just because you're friends doesn't mean things are going to work out all the time. And Carmelo Anthony, to me, just isn't the same Carmelo Anthony. Now, does he still have something in the tank? Absolutely. Is he going to be motivated to try to win and prove people wrong? Absolutely. But at the same time, he could go down that same road that Allen Iverson went when he didn't want to take a lesser role and he didn't have the same skill set that he had beforehand, especially athleticism that he had before. And things really didn't work out with him towards the back end of his career and the end of his career prematurely. So you look at Carmelo Anthony, it's kind of the same basic type of situation. He doesn't have the same athleticism he did before. He's a good shooter. He's not, your Klay Thompson, anything like that. He's going to be consistently knocking down threes. He's not really a catch-and-shoot type of shooter either. He's an ISO type of guy. And you already have, Chris Paul. You already have James Harden, especially James Harden, who likes to go ISO. So every time each one of these guys have the ball, is really going to, it's going to essentially hinder the offense. You've seen that with OKC at times where they would just ISO ball. Each one of the three, they would just take turns going in ISO, and that was the offense for the majority of the season. Could that end up in Houston if Carmelo Anthony goes down there? And I could definitely see that. I don't see Melo changing his game too much. He may tweak it here and there, take a lesser role. No, he is the third guy, but is he really going to tweak his game that much where he's not going to play ISO ball. Even if he's working down in the post with a turnaround jump shot, that's still going to be ISO situations. So I don't like the fit with him going to Houston. But then when you look around the league, I really don't like the fit of Carmelo Anthony going anywhere. So if he wants the best chance to win, it makes sense for him to go to Houston. Houston, it makes sense for them to go and get Carmelo Anthony at this point because there's really no other small forward out there that you can get that has the potential, because Carmelo Anthony could definitely hinder you. He doesn't play defense. Mike D'Antoni don't really care about defense, but you still need defense to a certain point, especially in the playoffs. Carmelo Anthony doesn't do that. James Harden, really not a defensive guy either. So you have two guys who's going to be liability potentially on the defensive side of the basketball. James Harden can make up for it because he could get you 30-plus any given night. Carmelo Anthony's not going to get you 30-plus any given night anymore. You're hoping he gets you 20 points. But if he doesn't get you that, he could be a liability. So I don't like that fit, but it's something that you have to do because who else is out there that can get you 15 to 20 points a game? So Houston Rockets right now is reported that they are determined to sign Carmelo Anthony. We'll see what happens. Of course, he hasn't officially been released or bought out or waived by the OKC Thunder. That should happen in the upcoming weeks, and then we'll officially be on the Carmelo Anthony as a free agent train. But that is something that is going down right now. And you guys let me know, do you think the Houston Rockets should sign Carmelo Anthony, or maybe the Miami Heat or another team may have a better chance of going to get him? But you guys let me know how you guys feel about that in the comment section below as well. We're also moving on, staying in the Western Conference, but we're talking about the Sacramento Kings. These are guys who are essentially trying to make teams pay to the players. So what we're hearing right now is that the Sacramento Kings are planning on making Marcus Smart an offer. They haven't done it yet, but I'm hearing that they will try to make Marcus Smart an offer. He is a restricted free agent with Boston. We know Marcus Smart. He is looking for around $13 to $15 million a season. Right now, Boston is reluctant to give him that type of money. Like I said before, though, they're just waiting on a team to go out there and give him that type of money before they have to match it. Sacramento Kings, as of right now, from what I'm hearing, are planning on making that offer. That's going to force Boston's hand, and it's going to make Boston pay him that type of money. Now, I don't think Sacramento really needs Marcus Smart. Any team can use a player like Marcus Smart, but I don't think the Kings truly really want Marcus Smart. I think by making this deal here, you have enough money. If you are stuck with him, you have a player like Marcus Smart that's not going to hurt you at all coming off of your bench, especially with the De'Aaron Fox there as well. But it's going to force Boston to make a decision within 48 hours. Are you going to pay Marcus Smart that $13 to $15 million a season? Or are you going to allow him to walk and you're going to lose that valuable defender and player that you have coming off the bench that has been so valuable for Boston the past few seasons? I don't think Boston is going to allow him to walk. I think they're playing hardball, almost like the Houston Rockets situation, where, of course, you don't want to pay him. If you don't have to pay him, you're not going to pay him. But you're going to wait for a team to make you pay him. The Chicago Bulls just did it with Zach LaVine. They didn't plan on giving him $78 million. But, of course, once he got an offer sheet from the Kings, they now have 48 hours. They did not want to allow him to leave. They had to make that deal happen. Same situation is going to be with Boston. Once the Kings offer that offer sheet, Boston, I'm about 90% sure they're going to sign that and match that, and he'll be back in Boston. But Marcus Smart, is he worth $13 to $15 million? Like I said before, I think so. I think he brings a lot of stuff off the bench for you. That grit, you really can't replace the defensive ability that he has, and somebody who is willing to play defense like that. You don't see that too often out of a player like Marcus Smart. So I do think he's super valuable. I do think the Boston Celtics need him. I think they could undervalue him by just not paying him. I think he is worth that $13 to $15 million per season. Will he get it? It's looking like at this point he may actually get it. I think the Sacramento Kings will offer him an offer sheet, and I think it will be signed by the Boston Celtics. And, of course, it's a good thing for them. Now, moving on to one of our final stories, we're talking about the New York Knicks, and we're talking about Kyle O'Quinn. Now, Kyle O'Quinn, big man, played with the Knicks last season. He just signed with the Indiana Pacers this season, and when asked why did he decide to go to the Pacers, he was kind of blunt and really honest with it. He said he left the New York Knicks because he wanted to play for more than just next year's draft. Now, we know the Knicks I can't say 100% have been tanking. They've just been an awful team and an awful ran organization for a while. But essentially, that is what they've been doing, is essentially taking. They haven't really been good. They haven't really been relevant, only relevant because they are in a market like New York. But they haven't really been a team for years that putting out good products or that's competing to try to do anything. Haven't been that team at all. So Kyle Quinn does make plenty of sense when he says he's looking to do more than that. Now, are the Knicks trying to change things now? I think so. I think the Knicks are trying to finally start putting together a team that can compete to make the playoffs. Will it be this year? I'm not quite sure, but of course, anything can happen. Knox has been looking fantastic during Summer League, by the way. I liked him. I don't know why the fans booed him when he got drafted. I thought it was a pretty good pickup for New York. He's been looking good during Summer League. Of course, you can't overreact during things because Summer League, you see a lot of players scoring 30 points, 20 points, don't really do much once the season begins, but he has been looking fairly good. So that is a good sign, of course, for the New York Knicks. But it does make sense why Kyle Quinn says this. If you're trying to win now, the Knicks are not the situation for you. The Pacers have a better opportunity. They're still not championship contenders either, but at least you're going to make the playoffs with the Indiana Pacers. So that is why Kyle Quinn decided to leave the New York Knicks. He decided to elaborate a little bit more on it. And like I said, can't blame the guy. Definitely makes sense. Now, somebody who wants the opposite, and he actually wants to stay in New York. You guys probably hate him by now, especially if you're a New York Knicks fan. That is Joakim Noah. Yes, Joakim Noah, he says he wants to stay in New York. He told TMZ Sports that I love New York and he wants to stay. Now, Joakim Noah, nobody in New York wants you to stay except for yourself and maybe your family. For the Knicks, Joakim Noah is really that guy who is making this rebuild situation that much harder. He is currently in year 3, 2 years left of his 4-year, $72 million contract that for whatever reason, Phil Jackson felt the need to offer Joakim Noah. I don't understand it. He really wasn't that valuable or that good with the Chicago Bulls before he got this deal, but this was still the same time where teams were literally just spending money left and right, and the Knicks are now stuck with Noah's contract. Now, of course, I do expect him to be waived in September, and he'll probably be waived via the stretch provision, so they'll go out and extend his contract. But for Joakim Noah, why would you even say you want to stay in New York? Clearly, you don't. You just want the paycheck. You really weren't with the team. You didn't mind being suspended and sent home. You really haven't acted at all as if you want to be part of the team. You don't want to come off the bench. You don't want anything but the $72 million. You're going to get your full $72 million. So I don't know why you have to front and act like you really want to stay in New York or you like the team. You may like the city, New York, of course, a wonderful place to live, but you don't want to be with the New York Knicks. So I don't see why you're acting like you do. Nobody there wants you to be there, at least that I've seen. I haven't seen that one person say, hey, I think Joakim Noah should be our starting center. Nobody at all is saying that at this point. You're just here collecting a check. And at this point, I don't think nobody really wants to hear from you entirely too much. I know that may seem harsh, but Joakim Noah really just stole $72 million from the New York Knicks, in my opinion. Only played one season, and even that one season wasn't really a good season in terms of just effort. Not even in terms of just play style. Really, effort really wasn't that there. Last season was a disaster. You have 2 seasons left where you show up to camp ready to go. I'm not quite sure. Of course, they do have new coaches there now. Maybe that could change things. But at the same time, Joakim Noah, I think his days are still numbered with the New York Knicks. I do expect him to be waived in September, and I think they will use the stretch provision. But that is everything that I have here in this episode. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please go ahead and leave this video a like. Definitely helps me out a lot. It's your boy DLloyd. I'm going to see y'all next time. Peace.